Hello, Basement Movie Room. We're back again with another review. This time we're watching Machine Gun Preacher with Gerard Butler, the third in our Gerard Butler trilogy. This one's a little more serious than the last two we've watched, which we watched Rock and Roller, and what was the first one we did?
Beowulf.
Beowulf and Grendel.
Review. How could you forget that movie?
I really want to be honest. So this is the third in the trilogy. We picked a more serious movie. This one definitely is low on the comedy factor ultimately, maybe unintentional comedy at times. But yeah, so Machine Gun Preacher is a true story about Sam Childers, who basically devoted his life. Initially, he's in the movie, he's a criminal. He's not a good guy. He's a heroin addict. He's getting out of prison at the first of the movie. He's wanting his wife to keep doing, stripping at a club to make money when she's gotten away from that. He's not particularly concerned with how his daughter is growing up. But at some point during that first part, during the first act, he discovers that maybe the way he's living his life is not great when he gets into a car with his best friend, and they pick up a hitchhiker who he ends up almost killing, basically. This hitchhiker, when this hitchhiker holds a knife to his friend's throat, he stabs him and throws him out of the car, and it ends up that he doesn't die, but he basically decides at that point that he's got to get off the heroin and become the husband and father he wants to be. So he gets into some construction work, and he returns to the church where his wife is going. So he finds Jesus at that point and decides that he wants to help people and build his own church and get involved in Africa, basically, with the in the Sudan, Ugandan area, which is a disaster still to this day, but it was a big disaster then as well, with Joseph Kony being over the area and being just generally an absolutely horrific person. So he ends up starting to go to Africa to help and build an orphanage. He decided he needs to build an orphanage in Africa for children who are separated from their parents, which he discovers this by befriending some of the Sudan Liberation Army people, and discovers how terrible it is for these children. They're losing their parents and having really nowhere to go. Some are becoming child soldiers, some probably just die because they just don't know where to go. So he decides to start an orphanage there. He starts a church in the United States to help fund the orphanage, and he becomes known as the Machine Gun Preacher in Africa. So he begins helping children, and he kind of goes through his struggles with trying to, balance his life in the United States, the money he needs for this venture in Africa. Yeah.
Saving his children.
It kind of shows that he's got an addictive personality. He's addicted to heroin at the first, and he becomes addicted somewhat to helping these kids to the extent where he
they did a really good job of portraying that too.
Yeah, he kind of loses his mind over it. I mean, he almost kills his best friend right in front of his family. He gets so mad at him, and he ignores his child, he ignores his wife, and ultimately he does come to his senses and realize he can't do everything. He can't be the person who saves everyone, but he can try to save as many as he can.
First 20 minutes of this movie and the last 20 minutes of this movie are like mirror.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Except, different.
Yes, certainly different addictions that he has. But he does learn that, and it shows him. I mean, in Africa, he kills a lot of people to protect the children. And these people maybe aren't the worst people, but they're not good people that he kills. They're working for Kony, who's ordering them to do a lot of things, but, they shouldn't be following some of those orders because they're just killing people indiscriminately. We do have one kid throughout the movie that we see at the first of the movie that's forced to kill his mother, and he becomes a child soldier, and Sam rescues him from being a child soldier, and he's looking for his brother. We don't get a resolution on that. We don't find his brother, which is probably, he probably never found his brother. But that kid is kind of like the guiding light for Sam ultimately, and Sam kind of comes back to where he understands that he shouldn't probably be killing these people and all that. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing overall. So that's kind of the story. And at the end of the movie, I think it was made in 2011 and directed by Mark Forrester, who's done a number of movies. I can't recall any off the top of my head, but the guy's a talented director.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Great job.
Yeah, he does a good job. The movie does have some slow points. I mean, but Childers is still doing this, at least in 2011 to this day. He was in 2011. But Sudan's still a disaster. Ugandan Sudan border is still full of refugees and things like that. So I assume Childers, if he's still around, is still doing this kind of stuff. But, you know, the movie does have its slow points.
Yeah.
I know it just kind of gets slow at times, but it's that kind of.
Very long 2 hours.
It is. It's a little over 2 hours, and it certainly you could fill that 2 hours in it. It's not perfect by any means, but the story is compelling. The story is certainly compelling.
Oh.
Sam Childers is ultimately, I mean, he's a good guy. I mean, what he's doing is something that I couldn't even imagine doing. I couldn't imagine going over to Africa and trying to do that kind of stuff. And just, you know,
Yeah, he got a little extreme.
he did get a little
Was his-
extreme.
was
Yeah.
his,
Even like the other Sudanese army people were like, "Whoa, you tone it down, buddy. We want to help people too, you know."
And that's just that addictive personality.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely once he's into something, he goes all in. And you know, you gotta commend the guy because he helped a ton of kids over there. He really did. But he also, you know, at least in the dramatization of the movie, he does kind of lose his mind for a little bit.
Some of the scenes with him, with his marksmanship of all things, is like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, Hollywood's gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's gonna look like Superman with a gun.
Everybody else is stormtroopers, and he's, you know.
Yeah. He's
not
impressive.
So.
And he was never ex-military. He's just like guns. Is what he says. Gerard Butler does kind of go through some crazy accents in this movie.
God. Yeah.
He's all over the place. He's supposed to be a Pennsylvanian.
Yeah.
And his accent is more southern.
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally his Scottish comes out. He certainly brings out the brogue sometimes. And sometimes it's just, who knows what the accent he's using. It's just all over the place.
His wife is the same way.
Yeah, Michelle Monaghan plays his wife.
Yeah.
She's kind of all over the place.
I looked at you, I was like, why do they sound like they're from the South?
Yeah, they're from the South half the time. They're from Pennsylvania. He says he's a Pennsylvania hillbilly, but his accent is southern half the time.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because even Pennsylvania rednecks have Pennsylvanian accents, you know. So but I mean, ultimately the movie is decent. I mean, it's not like the greatest movie you're ever going to see, in my opinion. But
it's a little repetitive.
yeah, it's
like,
slow at times. It's repetitive. It's like
at one point, it's like
maybe
we get it. It's a lot of
you probably could have cut some time out of the movie, and then but ultimately, you know, there's no real resolution in the movie because he's not going to save Africa. You know that's not going to happen because it hasn't happened.
It's more about his.
Yeah, it's just more about how he goes about it, and you know, him being ultimately a good person overall, from being a really terrible person to becoming a pretty good person at the end. And you know, I liked it. It was good.
It's just kind of a message of hope.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Good movie. Yeah, it is good. There's not really a score to speak of in this movie. I don't even remember hearing music in this movie.
You know, it plays when it needs to.
Yeah.
It's just kind of mixed in there.
Yeah, it is.
There's nothing really. I mean, at the very end of the movie, it's got a nice score there, but nothing.
Nothing to write home about.
No. So
All right, let's go to.
Can't even score the score.
You can't even score the score. No score for score.
No score for score.
All right, well, let's go to our actual scores. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, out of 5. I mean, it's a good one. If it wasn't for us watching it, I wouldn't watch it again. So
I
go like a 2.8, just because it was too long.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on that. I'm at a 3. Yeah, I'm at a 3 on it.
So
it's definitely too long. It definitely has some
very long 2-hour movies.
Some difficult points to get through, to be honest. But once you get through them, once you get to there's some decent action scenes in it with like firefights and things, and then there's some slow parts. That's just how it goes. That's how it was. So 3,
They
2.8.
They really jump around too.
Yeah, there's some
So,
time jumps
yeah.
in the movie as well, which it's like his daughter's like 7 years old, and then all of a sudden she's like 14 years old, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in Africa, and then
Yeah.
he's in the church.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, he goes back and forth. Michael Shannon's also in this movie who plays his best friend. Michael
does
Shannon's
good.
great and everything. He's terrific as like a junkie best friend, and he passes away at some point in the movie, which I think is kind of the the flashpoint for him to realize, hey, I'm maybe doing going a little too far here. Like my buddy needed me, and I wasn't there, and he passed away, and now I realize that these people need me, and if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to be there to help them. So. Yeah, good movie overall.
Yeah.
3, 2.8.
Yeah.
So definitely worth checking out. HBO Max. Other than that, I don't have much else to say. Anything else
That's
from you?
it.
All right. Thanks for watching Basement Movie Room.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Helping you kids is about the only good thing I've ever done in this life. You got no idea what I'm saying, do you?